Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. We've got a bit of special today, all about the PlayStation 4 announcement. My name is Matt Lees and I'm joined by Steve Burns.
Hello.
Matthew Nellis.
Hello.
And Tom Ori.
Hello.
So, PlayStation 4 got announced last night quite late. We haven't had much sleep. I'm eyeballed up with coffee. I'm still quite excited though. How are you guys feeling overall?
Pretty excited, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty excited.
Good.
The buzz is kind of still there with me a bit.
I think I might be coming down from the bars already now.
You're on your come down.
I was about 5 minutes ago, I was like, I'm going to pre-order this at lunchtime. And then I thought, maybe I'm not.
You flip-flopped.
I think it's really hard with these things. I was obviously on Twitter and the internet last night just being incredibly snarky because I can't help but
That's
make
your
jokes.
online personality.
It's what I do. But at the same time, I am kind of torn between two halves of I am quite positive about it in many regards, but also there are lots of things to concern. But I do think especially with these things, they squeeze in, even though they elongate, the presentation was about 2 hours.
It's a long
a lot longer than it needs to be. But they try and talk about so many things that almost you feel like a lot of the stuff sweeps over you and you feel like you've glossed over some of the things that are actually quite exciting because you've got bored by maybe an overly long game presentation. So the idea of this podcast basically is just to go through all the stuff we've seen and talk about it in a bit more depth and kind of use a bit of our industry insight to think about what it might mean.
We are for the biggest experts.
To be fair, actually, I've got to say, so a lot of the stuff that actually got announced last night, I've been predicting for a long time. The whole Gaikai thing of being able to test games out, I've been saying that for ever since they bought it. I was like, that's what they're going to use it
I've
for.
been saying it's going to be called PlayStation 4 forever.
Yeah.
Forever. So I knew.
You said that yesterday.
I knew.
Yeah.
In fact, I might actually sue them.
Yeah, I think you should, Steve. It's definitely your idea.
Yeah. I think that's an old Ali G joke as well. So now I'm going to be sued for stealing that. So it's all a big sue roundabout.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's start off with some of the hard facts about the PlayStation 4, like some of the stuff we know. Obviously, one of the biggest details we need to cover straight away is the fact they didn't actually show it, which is kind
Doesn't
of
exist.
becoming a trend, isn't it? Because they didn't do that with the Wii U either. They just went, here's a controller, and then well, where's the console?
To be honest, that doesn't bother me so much. I think they told me everything as a potential consumer. They told me everything I wanted to know initially. And that's about the architecture.
What if it's bigger than your TV?
That would be disappointing. Certainly, yeah.
That's an issue.
It's not going to be though, is
issue.
it? Because it's just a PC.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, it's just a PC. So it's a x86 CPU. So they've done away with the whole cell nonsense.
Yeah,
and they kind of acknowledge that. They're like, look, they didn't explicitly say it, but they're like, it's going to be x86 CPU. It's going to be super easy to develop.
They had to do that, though. It's quite sad because I think, again, this is probably one of the reasons why some of the games that they showed last night weren't terribly interesting or exciting, mainly because the stuff that was really cool, Watch Dogs mainly, we'd already seen before. But I think that's because probably like Naughty Dog, they've spent years training them to use the cell architecture, and now they've sort of gone, well, we have to abandon that.
Yeah, you can develop like everyone else now.
Because I was having
PC architecture.
I was having a sort of off-camera conversation with Todd Batty, who was the lead guy on the SSX game that came out. A really smart, savvy guy last year. And I was saying, well, how is this going to work? Because you've got these divergent technologies of the cell and the normal PC processor. Is that going to get harder next gen if Sony carry on? And he's like, it's going to be impossible to make games for both.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
That would have been a massive problem.
So I guess if you're a hardcore Sony fanboy, it might seem like a kick in the teeth, but I think it is for the best.
It's a climb down, isn't it? It's a big climb down. I mean, I love Ken Kutaragi. I think he gets a really bad rap for going totally cuts, let's face it.
I've gone into the jungle and made my own console.
Pretty much. But he, the father of PlayStation, he's responsible for a lot of what we have today. And, when he was saying things like, you'll have to, get a second job and instill discipline in your children and all of this. And
Stop eating Nutella, Timmy. Yeah. We need a PlayStation 3.
it felt very much like a climb down, which I agree it should have been. It felt like they were winking, going, and it will just be really easy to develop for. Yeah. Sorry for all of that.
Without saying sorry, they pretty much said sorry.
Yeah, they apologised for a lot of stuff indirectly, really. Especially, I do think that one of the most interesting things about last night is it's one of the things that's very hard to put across in a presentation like that. But they did keep saying, look, we have made this really easy for developers to work with. And I think you can't really discount that because that's the complete opposite of what the PlayStation 3 was. Exactly. And I mean, I think as well, what you have to understand with that is it's not just about the actual hardware. It's not just about the RAM and the specs. It's also about how flexible you are as a platform. And I think that's something that Microsoft have been really, really poor at this generation. is that aspect of it. Like, you know, it being reported that it's like 50 grand to patch a game on Xbox Live, and loads of horror stories about people working with Xbox Live Arcade games. And, you know, obviously you do have success stories, but far more of them. I mean, even the indie games thing was just a complete mess. And so it's really fascinating to see them bringing up on stage. It's almost like what was said isn't as relevant in this thing. It's reading between the lines. You've got Jonathan Blow coming up on stage and saying, I'm self-publishing on the thing. But then you've also got Blizzard, who are notoriously like, we only do things our way. So that means all of their systems, like Blizzard.net and the Battle.net, and the auction house, are presumably going to be accessible. Yes. And I mean, for Sony to open the doors like that and basically go, we're just a platform now. I think a lot of naysayers are saying, oh, they've got it completely wrong. It's still just a powerful box. And it's like, yeah, but we're always going to need a powerful box to do something.
Exactly. It was always going to be a powerful machine. There's no doubt. It's just like 8 gig of RAM. That's nice. I think Mark Rain sort of mentioned this morning or overnight.
He was really impressed.
He was super impressed by.
Of course, he already knew this, but
now he can publicly say it. But yeah, 8 gig of RAM. That's a lot of RAM. Hey, I've got 8 gig on my PC. Again, the new PlayStation is just a super PC.
It's just a super PC. Having said that, there are some of the technical things that they talked about last night, which I think are actually really quite impressive, and maybe aren't in PCs or would be hard to implement in PCs. Some of those things are. The one that really impressed me is that you've got a separate chip for processing downloads and uploads.
Yeah. Yes.
So if you want to upload a video of yourself live casting a game, then you can go, oh yeah, upload that video of me playing that game, and then carry on playing a game.
Yeah.
And without any detriment. And I think having that kind of compartmentalized processing is really important, because that kind of killed a lot of stuff like the Kinect with Xbox this year. Really cool technology, really cool. But then it's like, but it uses like 20% of the Xbox CPU. So
hogs resources.
We can't use that.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of doing the Blizzard thing. We were talking about this the other day, how Blizzard games, specifically like StarCraft 2, you can download it, and as it's downloading, as soon as it's downloaded enough, you can start playing, and then it'll download in the background. We're saying that is amazing.
Yeah,
PlayStation 4 is going to do that now.
They definitely needed it, because it's slow enough downloading a PS3 game on a PS3. Like, it's going to be like a 20 gig PS4 game.
Exactly.
And I wonder, I mean, I don't know how this works, but I wonder if it is a case of, do they have to optimize their games to work for it, or is it because they're disc-based media that they have the advantage of that you wouldn't have with a PC game, perhaps, of not having to work it out as much, because you literally just stream the information in the order it would be read off the CD anyway.
Maybe. Yeah, exactly. My feeling is that it'll be that you can access one like key part of this game, and then like for example, a racing game, you might not be able to go and choose any track you want, but you'll be able to do like start the career or something. I mean, it would be better than not being able to do anything, but I wonder if they're going to be limited in some way.
They might have to make it a standard, I guess, because if they're saying that it's going to work with all games, though, then I'm not sure. That's basically because I know that demos are expensive to make. So if you're telling people that they have to introduce that into, I don't know, it's just one of those things. I don't know enough about the systems, but I'm fascinated, especially because they've kind of nodded and gone, again, sorry, no backwards compability.
Yeah. But Gaikai is going to handle all that.
Kind of said that the whole library is going to be available.
I think they were quite cagey about how they said stuff. Like they were like their goal and their long-term plan, all this kind of stuff, was to have everything playable through the streaming stuff. I mean, how much of that is actually going to be there day one? If anything will be there day one, we don't know. But that's going to have to, if that's the only way to play all those old games, it's going to have to be good.
It is.
It's going to have to work day
Having
one,
said that, I mean, a big concern for me with all this stuff is they really have gone heavy on the kind of online features. So you've got a lot of this social stuff. We'll just jump back actually with the controller they've announced. So I'm really annoyed they haven't fixed the sticks. Because
they're stubborn with that.
Some people argue that, like, I was having an argument with a guy on Twitter last night at 2 a.m, as you do, about that. And they said, but, you know, if it's all right for your right thumb, then why isn't it right for your left thumb? And it's like, no, because you hardly ever use the right thumbstick. It's something you use to jig the camera a bit. And it's awkward when you do it, which is why you want your fingers to naturally rest on the buttons.
I get cramp from using the DualShock for long periods of time.
Because it's not built for people with real hands. It's tiny. It is, honestly. It's like you could just fit it in the palm of your hand.
It's not good.
Also, because the thumbsticks are next to each other, you get that horrible thing where you clash thumbs if you're pressing in the same, like, inward.
Just shouldn't happen.
I mean, this is the future now, right? We can share, we can stream, but we can't put sticks in the right place.
It's monkey stuff.
Sony.
Is that because they had to put that touch panel in, though? Is that affected?
No,
where
I'm sure they could have
sticks
designed
go?
it in such a way.
Because all it is, I think it's just a case of them being stubborn with their identity, and somebody somewhere said, look, we'll change a lot, but we're not changing that. Because they've still got, all it is a case of just moving the D-pad and the analog stick.
Yeah.
And I honestly think, like, I mean, obviously, you know, full disclosure, I did used to write for Official Xbox magazine, but I've not really got a huge amount of love for the Xbox 360 console and the current form it is. But I do think that its legacy, the best thing about it, are those pads. Those 360 pads. Like, just having the balls to go, okay, well, we're making 3D games now, so we don't want the president on this controller to be the D-pad. We want it to be the stick.
Yeah.
That's what people are going to use the most, and the D-pad's going to be there, but you're not going to use it as often. And you don't use it for menus occasionally, and so it's okay to have that kind of awkward claw.
That's it.
For a moment.
It doesn't look symmetrical, but ergonomically, it's much better.
It's one of those things where I just wish that Sony had, because most people, I kind of admit that now. I used to think DualShock was the best controller, and it was.
It was.
The
It was the best controller. PS2 era.
It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
The Wavebird was pretty
Wavebird
sweet.
wasn't.
What
360 controller S, Xbox controller S was good.
It was good.
size of a bear, though.
No,
that's
controller
the
S was like
small
basically what we have now, more or less.
Right, gotcha.
But I mean, I'm
Wavebird is
actually really
better.
concerned that Microsoft might do the same in Arena. If Microsoft have a new controller, I'm going to go out and panic buy wired 360 controllers. Just to
I've already got one.
I've already got one,
PC,
but I might need more because it's the best.
in case it breaks.
It is like the golden age. Do you remember growing up with like having to go and spend 50 quid on a controller pad for your PC that might be a bit rubbish,
Yeah.
one of the Cytec ones? And spend a fortune just to get one that was like passable.
Yeah.
And now it's like 20 quid. You've got one of the best controllers ever made.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the controller, in addition to the apart from the lack of the visual change, really, we do have a touchpad.
Which they didn't really
They
make
just
a
said-
big deal out of at all.
No one said
No.
nothing about it. They just said it is a touchpad.
I'm treating that as a boring red herring because it feels to me like what they did with the Vita of going, well, it's got to have all these things.
Yeah.
And you sort of think, does it need all those things?
I think my concern is that the pads are going to be quite expensive now. Because they're already expensive.
and
Like a PS3 pad is,
Yeah.
what, 35 quid or something?
Yeah.
Not only does it have that touchpad, it's got the sensor bar as well on the sort of top of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, with that sensor bar, they're going to discontinue the Move. And then later on in the presentation, Media Molecule come out and say, hey, no, our game uses the Move exclusively. So they're not ditching the Move. They've just also integrated this sensor bar technology into
I thought
the
their
controller.
game just tapped into our brains so it could track our dreams.
It does monitor your dreams.
Yeah.
That
That's
guy
what I
had a
thought was
weird-
going to happen. And he said, it's PlayStation Move. I was like, well, that's not really in my dreams.
Yeah, that's my
I've-
nightmares right there.
Yeah,
I
they
think,
got it wrong,
should we
yeah.
talk about the PlayStation Move stuff? Because I think
Go on.
actually this was the most, for me, that was the most exciting part of the presentation. I did love that they really kicked off their presentation with all the technical stuff as well.
Yeah.
They're actually
Yeah.
just going,
They kind of
here's
just
all the
got
things we
straight
kind
down
of
to it. Yeah.
messed up last time and we fixed it this
The
time.
services and the functionality all look really good. I think
They
that
do.
is
They do.
Yeah.
what they did very well.
They're not of massive interest to me, but I think like giving people the ability to like live stream and capture and record.
being able to record and stream your live gameplay, and then like a lot of people took the piss out of the share button. And it's like, oh, that share button. Blah, blah, blah. I quite like that though. Like imagine you've just done something super cool, and then you just go boom, and if that instantly takes a screenshot and then just puts it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
that's awesome.
I think it's like constantly recording the last couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So and you can just go back.
Something
Yeah.
awesome can happen.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, that is excellent because
That's cool.
the thing is, there are kids already bending over backwards to set up systems with their PCs so they can do this.
Yeah.
And
completely
that's-
negates all that.
And I mean, obviously, like, Activision with the most recent Call of Duty game, like, again, really went out of their way to integrate an in-game system.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, it is. I mean, it's a pretentious thing they bang on about a lot in the presentation last night, but elegance. It's like, that's not an elegant solution.
Yeah.
Having each game develop their own. Having one that's built into the platform, that is an elegant solution.
Now with the PlayStation, excuse me, with the PlayStation 3, like the slogan was that it just does everything or something like that.
Yeah.
It actually sounds like the PS4 will do everything.
Yeah.
Like they haven't with the live streaming, they didn't specify a third-party service. They didn't specify their own service. So I'm interested to know more about that.
Well,
whether
everything presumably is all through the Gaikai stuff, isn't it?
if
But-
they do, then that is a huge
And
coup for
the
them.
other thing they were tied to that slightly was how they said, like, say you, Matt, were playing something and you were struggling.
Oh yeah.
Through the Gaikai stuff, I could just jump into
Yeah.
your game, take controls from you, and
Exactly.
do it for you.
Yeah,
and that, again, relies a lot on that service working very well. Because,
Yeah.
say you're playing something like Devil May Cry or something that's very, like, timing-based, and then you've got the lag and stuff on top of that,
Yeah.
that's going to be pretty useless.
Yeah.
But if it works, if that technology is good and it seems pretty seamless,
Yeah.
That's going to be quite cool.
I don't know.
That's
I mean,
gonna be
the thing is, like, this is technology. This aspect of it, this social aspect of it, you can watch your mates playing and all this. They kind of did that already with OnLive, and I don't know, when I played with
OnLive didn't have the community.
No, I know.
Game.
If I could look through my friends list and go, oh, Tom's playing, even if I saw Tom playing Football Manager, I know Football Manager's not going to be on PS4, but if I could do that through Steam, for example, and go, Tom playing Football Manager, I'm going to watch him play, and then I'm just going to like have banter with him while he's playing.
You can do, actually. You can, actually, that's true, but I don't know, when my mate had it, and it just seemed to be that his mate would just watch him playing games and tell him how shit he was at them.
Exactly, even just that is
I don't
fun.
know, that's the thing, is maybe this is just me kind of like fuddy-duddy mode engaged, but part of me just thinks, you know what, like, I don't want my mates to tell me that I'm rubbish. Like,
I'm sure it's going to be a privacy thing. Like you can turn on and off.
But it's one of those weird things me and Steve were talking about earlier. It's like one of the weird things I have now is one of the reasons I've started to increasingly really like my PS3 in the past couple of months is it's the one thing I can turn on.
Yeah.
I can just turn it on and play a game without, knob end 53 popping on and sending me a message or anything like this. Just having that kind of simplicity.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, my heart did sink a little bit last night when it was like, we don't want anything to get in the way of you and your game, apart from this vast quantity of social media related stuff. I was like, oh.
Yeah, as long as all that is purely
it's always optional.
It's fine. But they kind of, and they've said it very quickly, but they said literally from turning on the machine to playing a game will
be seconds. It's like very quick.
Yeah. If that's true,
I mean, that for me is quite a small thing, but because I play games in small chunks of time, say I've been playing Borderlands 2, it takes me ages to get back to the bit I've been at.
Yeah.
And that, if I'm only playing for like 50 minutes a day, if that, I'm wasting a big chunk of that just getting back to where I was. And that's why like iPad games are good, because I literally just resume where I was. I just open the cover and it's back. Like that kind of stuff is
it seems like that's what they're doing, isn't it? That you just literally just switch it on and you're back where you were in the game exactly.
Yeah.
You don't even have to load the game, which is awesome.
Yeah, if it works like that, then amazing.
Yeah, I'd definitely be up for that, because that whole squeezing in a bit of gaming.
Yeah.
I don't tend to do that on my consoles anymore. I do it on my PC.
Yeah.
Because my PC, because I've got it all solid stated and all that stuff, it means I press the button, Windows is booted up in about 3 seconds, and then I'm just on the internet.
Yeah.
The idea of sitting through and having to press a button to load a game, it's like, I've only got 5 minutes.
It's like, I forgot the right disc in, and
I'll tell you my biggest prediction for all this stuff, though, actually, from last night, and it's something I thought about in the past, but now I think, I bet this is going to happen, and I'm so excited about it with the Gaikai stuff.
Yeah.
This online streaming of games and being able to play games, that's cool, but it's not going to work very well in the UK, because our broadband infrastructure is still pretty crap, and the UK is better than most places in the world. So for a lot of places, you're just shafted unless you live in America, basically. But one thing it would really work for is this back catalogue stuff, because really, if you think about it, all they're trying to do is they're trying to stream internet data at the same rate that the media device would. So if you're trying to emulate, like with a PlayStation, if you're trying to emulate a CD, like that's easy.
Yeah.
Like you're only trying to stream like a couple of megasecond or whatever.
Exactly.
Like less than that.
Yeah.
And so that will work really well. And the same with PS2 with DVDs. Imagine, right? Because they're already kind of doing this with PlayStation Plus, of the fact that they've realised that they can't just do an Xbox Live anymore. It's too late for that. They can't just be like 40 quid a year. And actually, it's a feather in their cap at the moment that they can go, you give us 40 quid a year and we'll give you loads of free stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine if they had like, I think we're on the verge of having it announced in some way of the kind of almost like the Spotify equivalent of games.
That's what they were kind of aiming at, I think. I think the issue is that it's still, I mean, I think the point about like streaming data from a CD or a DVD and is kind of not quite the point, because it's still going to be streaming video, not data that is then turned into a game. It's got to be the pure video that is streamed. And that is still going to be very heavily reliant on broadband technology. Even if it's bad, you're going to get low bit rate, lag, and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
So basically, like that technology needs to have improved a lot since what they did on like the browser-based stuff they've had running.
Yeah. But I wonder if, and this is what me and Matt were talking about a minute ago, is that this is just the instancy. Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Blizzard things. Basically, it's like has the different tiers when you install. So you really only have to install, like with StarCraft 2, like about 20% of the game.
Yeah.
And then it just goes, okay, you can play now.
You're good.
And then it won't have everything, but then if it needs something that hasn't downloaded yet, it will just quickly download that bit.
Yeah. And it seems like it it literally just first downloads the core of what you need. Because then when you start like a custom map or, a certain bit of the game, it will still stream a little bit of data that it maybe didn't get and didn't think it needs. And then once you decide what you want to play, then it goes, okay, I'm just going to stream this little bit of data. And it's usually very, very small.
But that's what I mean. It's like at the moment, what Gaikai is just streaming a video and it's playing the game somewhere else.
On their servers,
But imagine if it became a system, let's just say I want to play, let's just blue sky thinking here, I want to play Final Fantasy 12 on my Vita, right, or my PS4, and I go play, and it just starts the game immediately, and I'm streaming it off Gaikai, but whilst I'm doing that, it's downloading it.
And
then as soon as it's finished downloading, it just goes, bump, swaps over my save file on the cloud from wherever it is to my system, and then
I think that works. That works for stuff that works natively on that platform. So PS4 games, for example, you could do that, and it could download the data, then take over from the video stream. But we're talking about backwards compatibility stuff. The point is that those games are not going to run in like code form, I guess, on those platforms. So it has to always be video. So you can't kind of buffer video because it's live. You have to like be in control of what's happening. So it has to be a constant stream of stuff.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it can't be. It has
to be rubbish, isn't it?
The backwards compatibility stuff, I think, is a separate thing to the play while you're downloading thing. They're very different things.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they implement the sort of infrastructure behind that. Backwards compatibility.
Yeah, because if it is just, I mean, I think the streaming is for instancy, for being able to, like, I want to check out a game right now. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I don't, and I'm quite vehement that I do not think streaming can be an adequate replacement for gaming.
I don't think it will completely replace it.
Just because, not having that reaction speed. I remember when I was at the offices of Bethesda last year, I believe, seeing Dishonored, and I previewed it there a couple of times, and I kind of like, every time I played Dishonored in their office, I kind of felt like something wasn't quite right. I felt like, I like this game, I do like it, I liked everything about it, but it felt like something was wrong, and it felt like there was something getting in the way of me enjoying the game. And I couldn't work out what it was. And then I worked out what it was. And it was what they were doing is they were doing the classic thing that a lot of publishers do. When you're a journalist, they go, come and play the game here. And they make the best possible environment they can. And they get a nice sofa and they get a really big screen. But the really big screen is a really big mistake, because what happens with HD displays over a certain size is because it has to actually do this processing to make it work, you will get slight lag.
Yeah. And
that's why kind of the optimal screen size, I think, is about 32 inches, because that's like, it runs, but there's no lag.
Yeah.
But anything bigger than that, and even that slight disconnect, we're talking about like a fraction of a second here from every time I move the camera to when the camera moves on screen, just created this disconnect that made me not feel like I was playing the game.
And that kind of lag is nothing compared to lag
Precisely.
you get in like latency over video streaming.
And so I really hope they are looking for a workaround.
They've spent a lot of money on this, and they made a big part of their whole conference about it. So if it's not good, I don't see why they're pushing it so much.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be something they think is going to, for one, sell the game. They're saying that everything, you can just go onto the store and instantly play a demo or whatever.
Yeah.
If that demo isn't representative of the game, then I don't see how that's benefiting.
It could just be the UK getting shafted, though, because we are just a tiny little island, and America does have an awesome broadband infrastructure.
It's not as good as you might think.
Well, no, it's true.
It's
but
actually
better,
pretty crap.
It's better than here.
The Koreans will be fine.
Netherlands, they've got good internet.
Netherlands have got amazing internet.
Yeah.
So is that the plan then? We just all pre-order a PS4 and move to the Netherlands?
VideoGamer Netherlands podcast is what it will be known as when PS4 launches.
So, I mean, I kind of feel like, this online aspect is some of it's quite cool, but some of it maybe isn't the meat of the pudding and might not really define the console.
Yeah. The other Gaikai thing that they mentioned is the remote play with the Vita. Yeah. And I was wondering when they're going to bring the Vita into the conference. And it was through this remote play with Gaikai. And it sounds all right, actually.
Well,
it's basically what the Wii U
that works
is
like the Wii U. Great.
Yeah, people like
Vita,
that.
I'll probably have a PS4.
Exactly.
I'll use a Vita more than I do now.
I don't think it'll be a reason for me personally to buy a Vita.
If they can somehow do some kind of bundle, so like you can get a discounted Vita if you buy it with a PS4, that's going to be expensive purchase.
Super expensive.
That is something that that is more appealing. The Wii U, that's a nice function, but I don't want to play the Wii U games.
Exactly. At
the moment, but I will probably want to play quite a lot of PS4 games. So.
I admit, it's a pretty tasty function, especially because like at the moment I still live on my own. Well, I live with some housemates, and my girlfriend has a really nice flat, somewhere much nicer in London. And I know that at some point in the future, I probably will end up moving in with her or moving somewhere else with her. And I don't know, like the idea of me just spending all this time in front of the TV playing video games, being like, what? I'm playing games.
Yeah.
The idea of being able to kind of have that kind of unrestrained high-end game experience, and it's not just about the kind of fidelity, it's more that you get access to more games. I mean, handheld game devices are great, but the type of games that work on them and the type of games you can get are quite limited. And so that idea of being able to just sneakily get out my Vita and play whatever I want to play, that's really cool. And actually that is
you need to just get rid of your girlfriend. I mean, there seems to be a problem here, and I don't think it's the PlayStation.
She is quite attractive and pretty awesome.
Yeah, but did you see the Final Fantasy demo?
Yeah.
That was pretty good looking as well.
Then they'll release some sort of attachment.
Right. Let's have a quick whiz through of the... let's not have a quick whiz through the attachments, my God. Let's have a quick whiz through the games they've shown. So, first of all, Square Enix can naff off on a bus, right? Because they're just like... They just turn up and go, hey, you like games? We're going to make games. Yeah. Here's a video we showed last year.
That was embarrassing.
And then the guy came out on stage. I love the way, basically, he came out on stage and said, oh, I've come to tell you one thing. And then just kind of went, keep an eye out at E3.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it's like, really?
We're making Final Fantasy.
It was the equivalent of somebody going, I've got a secret. Come closer. Come closer. Come closer. It was literally like, oh, screw you. Yeah. Why have you just blown spit in my ear?
I was expecting something. I was expecting like a Peter Moore tattoo moment. Like some kind of big thing. I thought this is going to be like the next Final Fantasy exclusive on PS4 or something big, and it was just...
He's going to rip off do like a Superman.
I don't understand why they needed to get that guy out to say this.
For some reason, I've got an image of him like turning around, lifting his shirt up and having a massive full back tattoo of Squall and Renoa doing it. Being like, check this out.
And then the lights go out.
It was total nonsense, and it was just like the Family Guy episode where, is it Lois runs for mayor or school councillor or something, and she realises that if she just says 9/11, so if she says something buzzy, everyone will go mad. So he's like, Final Fantasy. And it's like, Final Fantasy, okay, let's get down to it, is shite these days. Total shite.
Yeah, it really annoys me that
it should have been an apology, firstly. And secondly, just say, please buy our new game.
Yeah.
Not, oh, yeah, I'm the big man. Yeah, Final Fantasy's coming.
Wait till E3.
Yeah, see ya. Rubbish. It's total rubbish.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they're not Rockstar. And one thing that really rubbed me up the wrong way about that is, as they introduced Square Enix, you know, the guys from Sony was like, still name-dropping Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
It's like, the same game you name-dropped when you went, hey, here's a HD video of what it might look like if we remade it. And then no announcement of new games.
It was odd that they showed that tech demo that they've already shown and everyone's seen.
That looks nice. Like, if PS4 games will look like that from Square, which I doubt, but they might. Some of them might. That's good, but
why show something old?
It'd be nice if they'd at least shown a different version of that demo or something.
Well, that's Final Fantasy through and through now, isn't it?
It's not a demo, is it? It's basically...
no ideas, nothing. Just going, what are we going to do? Honestly, what are we going to do?
Total knob.
Mate, it's total knob. Make Final Fantasy 13.5. Do it.
We're Square Enix. We're Square Enix. And we want to make films.
Yeah.
It just made no sense. With all these brand new demos and tech demos, and then they show something that we've all seen before.
Yeah, I guess their point was like this is apparently running on the PS4, and before it was all PC stuff.
I don't care.
For most people watching it, who, just to be fair, were mostly hardcore people that had probably seen this already, it was a bit naff.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not even a hardcore fan, but I've seen that thing.
Like, I'd have much rather they'd shown like Just Cause or something, like a Square game that I.
You know what? You know what it felt like with Square Enix being there, because like Ubisoft there, because Ubisoft are everywhere. Yeah, they just turn up everywhere and swear their allegiance. Quite surprised by Activision, but with Square Enix being there, it's like they've been like hooked up with Sony for so long, through everything that. Even though they had nothing really to offer, it's like it felt like they just had to be there. Yeah. It's the equivalent of like having a mate from back home that you don't really like that much and you haven't seen in ages, and maybe he has too much to drink most of the time you go out with him. But you invite him to your wedding anyway, and it's like, and he kind of, you don't kind of,
you don't want.
For a football analogy, it's kind of like where people still think Liverpool are a big club.
I know.
They're really not. Yeah. But people think they are.
Coasting off
and
former glory.
They're still like, well, we were big in the 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Square Enix
So
are
are
big,
perms.
but what I find mental is that Square Enix come on a stage and go, Final Fantasy. Sorry, that was racist.
I do apologise for
Can
my
we
colleague.
use a filter to remove that racism from that? I don't know what happened to me. I haven't had enough sleep. But why wasn't it Deus Ex or something? You know,
They've got much. Their games, like the games made like since they merged, the other half of the merger have been much more interesting than
definitely.
the Japanese
Massively.
developed stuff.
But you can see who wears the trousers.
Yeah.
But then also epics. You know, there's a volcanic dude with a hammer. It's like seeing it.
That was
seeing
boring
it.
as well.
I
So
think that
boring.
was their desperate attempt to have some kind of Epic presence, because obviously Epic is pretty much associated with Xbox
Yep.
at the moment.
I think it's more about showing off faces and
Yeah.
showing off company names.
Yeah.
I was actually, I must admit, I was very surprised to see Activision there. Because
Yeah.
Activision had been in bed with Microsoft for
And no EA.
a while.
There was actually
No EA.
Yeah.
It's a bit odd.
Which
actually.
I wonder if maybe it's a case of like Sony have been putting the feelers out for Destiny for a long time, just because they knew they couldn't screw it up this time. And so when Microsoft swaggered over and went, hey, so how about this Destiny game? And they went, oh, actually, we're kind of like, we're not really talking about that at the moment. They went,
Yeah.
oh, fuck. And then she went, well, screw you then. We're going to go and talk to EA. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see them like out the wazoo with sports stuff, which to be honest would be, it would fit better
because
with
Destiny is it's going to be big, but if they'd have had just a Call of Duty or FIFA, it'd have been much bigger than the Destiny thing. The Destiny thing, they played on the fact that Bungie haven't been on PlayStation platforms for 10 years, whatever it was, but there wasn't anything to get excited about what they showed, because we just had the reveal.
We've just had that reveal.
About 4 days ago or
I do like
something.
how they needed 4 guys to come up on stage.
Four of
And
the
then-
most awkward-looking guys you've ever seen.
Less them. Like, I don't really... Are they all going to take turns speaking? No, just the one guy. The one guy's going to speak, and then they're going to all wave.
We've all been there though. Like that was reminded me of when I was much younger doing a Young Enterprise presentation. Was all standing up on stage as our little company, and only me and another guy doing speaking. But then everyone else just stood there with their hands in their pockets, being like.
They're the
And having that
dancers.
conversation before you going on of being like, do we all need to go on stage?
Yeah.
Do we? But then being like, no,
It's
we
like,
all
no, we all should,
We
yeah.
all should. Just so they know that we all did this.
It's
Like,
kind of, it's a little bit awkward. But,
it was like school stuff. It was weird.
Yeah. But, I mean, like you said, Tom, it's kind of... It had lost its impact a little bit because we all knew about
I think
Destiny.
maybe like real diehard Sony fans, like we're like in a position where we just play everything, we support everything because that's our job more or less. But there are probably still people that are so hardcore one platform that for them this is like a big deal. Like
I think it is a big
coming
deal.
over to PlayStation,
And with the exclusive
they had some
content.
exclusive content, which is like
DLC.
as wishy-washy as it can be in terms of like it doesn't mean that other platforms aren't going to get their own content and stuff, but it's like maybe it's a big deal. But for me, it was a bit to end it on that just seemed a little bit.
Just the fact that I saw Master Chief in a Sony conference was weird enough.
Yeah.
It was just
I
odd.
can't- I can't work out if Destiny being shown under the Sony banner means that, because Activision have been really weird, and we talked about this on the podcast, this week's podcast actually, about the fact that they've kind of gone, oh well, this year's Call of Duty probably won't do as well as the last year's one, and it's like, what? Just the making humble noises suggests that. Well, to me, suggests that maybe they've got so confident that Destiny's going to make them a lot of money that they've actually gone, you know what, we can stop puffing our chest out a bit on this front.
Yeah.
But I wonder either that's just their main focus, or maybe they're doing both. Maybe we're going to see Call of Duty being the main focus with Microsoft. And maybe they're just playing them all.
I think we almost certainly will. Like Xbox and Call of Duty are so tied. Like,
Yeah.
that is going to.
That's
Imagine
where
that'll
that
be
community is.
their biggest thing at Microsoft reveal, whenever that is.
Yeah.
Will be this.
And do you reckon we might see Rockstar doing some stuff with Xbox then? Because I was sort of almost surprised not to see something about GTA 5.
I don't know. I'm kind of. I know people seem to think it's coming next gen as well, but I don't think it is.
You reckon?
I don't think it is. Like I think it's going to be, unless they've been working on this for a long time. Like I can't see how they like the delay. People think that means they're making it for next gen as well. But can you really get a next gen port running in the extra 4 months they've added? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know. What else? I mean, in terms of the other games, I mean, obviously Watch Dogs was probably the most exciting thing, right? Mm-hmm. We've seen that before, but it was nice to see it again.
In daytime.
And in daytime, because obviously night always looks pretty in games.
Yeah.
You
can hide a lot in night as well.
Although I couldn't help but notice that...
You can hide a lot at night.
Okay, Matt.
Okay.
But no, that was a cool demo. I don't know what that game. I still don't really know what that game is going to be because that was
Assassin's
the most
Creed.
boring mission in the world.
It looks a lot like Assassin's Creed with guns.
Go and stop a domestic, basically, wasn't it?
It was just like, okay, everything looked cool, and you can sort of instantly get information from people, and then you hack that guy's bank account, and then that was the world's fastest ATM, by the way. It's like money.
It's the future, dude. Come on.
Okay. But yeah, if that's the caliber of mission that you're doing, I hope not. That was boring.
I love it when developers or whoever play their games because, like with Colonial Marines, that's always going to come up now. It's like they're playing and they're creeping around, whereas most players will be like barreling through. And in this mission, you find the guys having the quarrel, and then off he runs, and you saw the guy put his crosshair over, it go red, and then you just let him go. You wouldn't even listen to the end of that conversation; just go bang, headshot
straight away.
Come on,
as soon as you brought that knife, just
exactly.
be like,
see ya. Like, why is everyone? And that's what really. But they have to show it off, I suppose. But yeah, it always makes me laugh at the presentations. I'm like, this is what it's going to be.
They
like.
do lots of stuff that in reality you struggle to do, like the bit where he made like the pillar things come up to stop that car and smash into it. Like in the middle of playing, that is probably something you're not going to do, is it?
But if it is just one button,
something you could do, but I imagine on the fly without really knowing that car was coming until the last second, it might be quite tricky to do. But as a demo, it will look cool. That's probably something you can do, but that maybe it's something you plan.
That might be like a context button, so you've got like press triangle at any time, and it will just like whatever you've kind of locked onto,
it'll do whatever
something, which could be quite fun.
Yeah,
I did love the irony though of it being like the most good-looking game at the conference for a console which is entirely based around being constantly connected in every way is a game that completely highlights all of the things that are potentially really bad about that. It's like, lol.
It's weird, but then the Infamous demo as well was kind of started off in that vibe as well.
I thought that was Watch Dogs to begin with.
Because they were banging on about CCTV cameras and how monitored we all are.
They mentioned like superhumans and stuff like that.
It was so poor.
That escalated quickly.
The guy at the start, I don't know who he was. He was going. He was really mugging for the camera, like.
Oh yeah, it was
people
rubbish.
are watching you all the time.
Oh yeah, he was super excited.
He was like, I used to think the cops were the good guys, but then I got busted and tear gassed.
Yeah, who thinks cops are good guys? Like, firstly,
and then it was like, I used to think the cops were good guys, but maybe they're not. How important is security? But what if there were superheroes?
I know.
It was just like, what
happened?
Like, what happened?
What happened?
It's like. That was rubbish. That whole thing, that told me nothing.
Infamous was just
weird.
like...
And Killzone was
it looks cool.
Infamous, the thing is, I remember at the time when Infamous and Prototype both got announced at the same time, and there were these two games going, they both look really similar. And now it's like a new Infamous game, and it's like, how does it look more like Prototype? Like, you've had all these years to make it look less like Prototype.
That's what I was thinking as well. It looks much closer to Prototype.
I'm not interested in that in the slightest. And actually, I must say, I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm not really interested in Killzone.
God, no.
I did think... I know Steve didn't like it, but... I thought it looked nice. Like I haven't seen the HD version yet. I was only based it on the stream, but that as the first. This is like PlayStation 3. We'll look at it. Yeah, PlayStation 4. It looked impressive. Like if that's launch quality,
what we
get, that's pretty good.
Me,
absolutely.
But when they started actually playing it and shooting things, I was like,
I love the lighting. The lighting and the smoke I thought were awesome. And actually, it's one thing to say graphics don't matter, and there is some truth to that, absolutely. But I think one of the games that we played recently that. Aliens Colonial Marines, which was severely hamstrung in the graphics department, it proved that it did matter because actually you looked at the tech demo and we did a really extensive video about this on the website if you want to look and find it. But in the original demo, it had this amazing lighting and amazing smoke and it created a sense of atmosphere.
Yeah,
and what I loved about this was having this clarity of this shiny city. And then when the bombs started going off, the lighting and all this smoke, it did create this real sense of like panic. And I thought, that actually looks cool. Where it lost me was when he was holding onto a space rope, flying on a spaceship, shooting at things with a space pistol. Because there is something that I think developers really need to understand quickly is that these fancy graphic set pieces don't work anymore. I don't know, like they kind of might work on some people, but I kind of feel like you become desensitized to them so quickly. Yeah. When I was watching that, I was just like, I'm bored. And I find it really depressing that they're using the technology to make these things look fancier when actually they have the potential to create these really emergent, exciting worlds where you're kind of fighting through cities and you're not in a scripted sequence. because the scripted sequences, the reason they existed was because developers went, well, we want something like this to happen, and they went, well, we can't do that because it's too complex.
It kind of almost instantly killed it for me when you get that nice intro and you're seeing all the nice lighting, like this is really cool, and then as soon as it gets into the gameplay, the first thing, press R3 to melee. Yeah. Seriously, we're back here again. We're doing this.
That's exactly.
I think that was that. I think that was their nod to say, "Look, this is the game." I think they're trying to make it clear that someone was playing it.
Yeah, but it's still that's the Killzone. Killzone and Crysis can do one. Yeah. They are tech demos, and they're not even interesting tech demos because they're still predicated around this rubbish FPS nonsense.
Not interesting.
Like, it makes me so mad. People are like, that looks really good. It doesn't look good. Aesthetically, it looks good, and you're right. When you're like, the city looks good, but I'm looking down the sight. I'm shooting stupid bad guys. If I wanted to do that, I could go into the office next door, I could grab the little Nerf crossbow, and I could look down the sight, and I could shoot people when they're not looking. There you go. That's Killzone, and that's better looking than Killzone because it's real.
Yeah. And I think you've got a period. I think you've got a period about a minute, maybe 30 seconds, at which a game either looks ugly or beautiful, and it's bizarre. You get your brand new shiny HD telly, and you sit down, and you go whoa, and then a minute later you're just playing a game. And the same thing happens now if you switch on an N64. You switch it on and go, oh my god, it looks so ugly, and then a minute later you're just playing it, and it looks kind of nice actually. You get used to it. Your eyes just fix everything else somehow. But having said that, like, this is the thing that really annoyed me, is that the main games they showed look very like, come on guys, you've just talked about how this technology opens up the creative possibilities because it's so powerful that there's no limits, you can just make whatever you want, and then it's like, but we're just going to keep making everything we've made before even though the reasons we made games like this before were due to technical limitations. The thing that excited me most was this stuff that Media Molecule have worked out of being able to kind of use the Move controller.
It's a very brave thing to do.
It is.
To say, and literally say, Move controller, we love you. Is essentially,
and I think braver was
exactly what they said.
Make your dreams reality or some bollocks.
Yeah, that was weird.
I hated the Media Molecule bit. I'm not really. I thought
fair enough.
I thought it was like a load of like pretending stuff.
It was Wii Music.
And like, that's what it reminded me of. The Wii Music demo was one of the worst E3 things I've ever seen. This wasn't as bad as that. But the way, I found it quite cringy, the way they were all there getting really into it and like pretending they were playing these instruments and stuff, and they were moving their bodies around and everything, when they basically had a Move control in a hand, which was the only thing making anything happen. And there was like, the games look, the game, whatever that was, looked like it was tracking their every movement.
Oh yeah, no,
and it clearly was bollocks.
Yeah, it was bollocks. Well, it was, and it was absolute bollocks. And actually, that it's really annoying because that was the bit of the presentation that excited me the most, but also it was the bit that worried me the most, because what they started off by just saying, "Hey, Move was rubbish. We don't really know what to do with it." But then we realised we could do this with it. We realised it was really fun, and people can use it to craft stuff in 3D. And I know from experience, because I used to do art stuff, and drawing is fucking hard. I can't do it. But sculpting is easy, especially clay sculpting. Like, because you just
keep going.
Keep going, take a bit off, add a bit, take a bit off. And even if you're rubbish, you can always make something that looks good if you put the time in. And being able to do that, and then obviously, like Little Big Planet, what really got in the way of that sometimes was it was too much emphasis on programming, and drawing stuff with thumbsticks isn't much fun.
I worked on tutorials for Little Big Planet Vita, and some of the things, the processes you had to go through to make some of the cool stuff, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. If you can then do that just with the Move controller and literally just carve things, great.
Even if you can make level design, so literally a scale of being like, okay, well now I'm making a mountain, boom, now I'm making a tiny object, and being able to share and collaborate. I mean, one of my favourite games of this generation, weirdly, even though it's a bit rubbish in the end of it, but I love Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. I love the creativity of being given this toy box, making something daft, and then playing around with your mates. And if they can make a game like that, where you can literally define it and go, these are the wheels, and you've made yourself a car that you can drive around, that'd be amazing. But what worried me about it is the fact that they kind of went, hey, look, you can make your own little worlds and stuff. And then they didn't mention a game that they're putting in, or even an idea, even though it very clearly hinted that they're going to make some sort of Little Big Planet style thing. But then, I completely agree. What really worried me was then they went, oh no, here's the models dancing, and now
here's one of our dreams.
Rock band. It's just like,
as soon as they did that, it was bollocks.
Suddenly it went from being like, this is potentially incredible creative tech to being like, oh god, this isn't another Milo and Kate, is it? This isn't just a cool idea that's never going to be seen ever again.
It's just complete bollocks at the end.
It was
complete
bollocks.
and utter bollocks. That was not gameplay. I'm sorry, but that was that had to be like pre-programmed. Okay, this guy's going to do this. They were not doing that all with the move
I
controller.
thought they were going to show
No
us.
way.
I thought they were going to show us them building something, because the bits leading up to it, they were like showing us like sort of 3D like worlds and stuff that I assume they'd made using this stuff, and then it was just, here's a load of people pretending to play music.
Yeah.
And that just, I didn't get what...
I just lost me.
I get the impression with that what would have happened is somebody would have said, whoever was organising the event and the show said, no, it needs to end with some sort of big thing.
Yeah, it needs to end with
a bang. And so they added in the music thing, even though it's bollocks. The music thing was just pure bollocks. The dancing thing, sort of.
I can see it.
Because what I can see with that is, there was that game on the Nintendo DS, I think it was called Drawn to Life, where you kind of like, you go, this bit's the body, this bit's an arm, this bit's a leg. And I kind of think, that could work. It'd be like Spore combined with that.
Yeah, and you combine button presses, and then the move controller moves as, like, say you press X, and that it sort of attaches you to the waist, and then as you move the move controller, that moves the waist. And if you press 2 buttons, then it's like, I'm controlling the waist and this arm, and that can move.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I mean, hot damn! Like if they made a game which was like a 3D adventure game in a Wallace and Gromit claymation style, in which you actually make the characters for it.
Yeah.
I would buy a PlayStation 4 for that. But I think the biggest issue I have with last night's announcements is all of the concrete, all of the stuff that we've seen and we know is definitely coming is like, well, it kind of looks like
the same
stuff. All of the stuff that really excites me is the stuff like, the Gaikai back catalogue. It's all this stuff where it's like hinted at and definitely a potential, but no promises.
Yeah.
And I have been burnt by so many things before. I mean, do you remember the Wii? Do you remember how exciting that sounded?
Yeah. It was really exciting. I pre-ordered
that. I just remember just going to people in pubs excitedly, lightsaber fighting.
Yeah, it's coming, guys.
And it's just like, the potential always felt like it was there, but nobody really realised it. And I think that's my biggest concern with this console. The tech is solid. But actually, having said that, that's all I really wanted. I mean, what do you guys feel like? Is there anything really missing from what we've shown so far?
I think the games they showed... Like the main Sony ones, which were Killzone, Drive Club, Knack, was it Knack?
Knack.
Those
Knack looked like a tech
and
demo.
Infamous and stuff. They are like, they sum up for me Sony first party stuff. Like they generally look nice and they're okay, but they don't have the I must get these games. Like Sony, I think have struggled outside of like old Gran Turismo, like that kind of messed up slightly, but like Uncharted, definitely that is a great game, but the rest of it I could take it or leave it pretty much. And I think that's why this generation Xbox, I know it's had, some people don't think they've supported enough first party, but it has the bigger exclusives, I think. And like they've still got nothing they didn't show anything anyway, that like when Microsoft go, here's Halo, here's like, even they'll probably show Forza, they won't take years to make that. Those games will have more appeal to me than any of Sony's first party stuff outside of Uncharted.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Drive Club, I mean, getting on a guy on stage, like, he looks like he wants to put his knob in.
I really wanted, because there was talk about Evolution doing something that was like PGR, because they'd hired some ex-Bizarre staff, and this is like their dream game, they wanted to make it for 9 years or whatever, going on about, and that whole presentation was really boring.
Yeah, it's a racing game.
But I like racing games. Like
are you a car nerd though?
I'm not a car nerd, but I like
racing games.
I like racing games. I like Forza, and Forza's all about car nerds basically. But I still enjoy it. This game, they didn't sell me that was an enjoyable game.
The fidelity is not high enough. I've been talking about this before. Is that the leap between this generation and next? It won't be as pronounced, I don't think, as generations before. And if you're going to do car porn, I mean, the leap from Gran Turismo 4 to Gran Turismo 5, you're like, wow, okay, or Gran Turismo 2 to 3. Just doesn't I don't think it's going to happen until I'm actually in some sort of holodeck sitting in that car. I don't give a shit about driving games anymore, because it's just now we're going around, we're panning around the car.
Well, that's why I think so much of
the
focus was on the features of the game rather than this is the game itself.
But that made it, the features
didn't sound boring.
They sounded dull. They sounded really dull.
I kind of liked it.
And like for me, the main game that I thought, wow, if this is next gen, I'm getting one, was Capcom's game.
Yeah.
And that was probably, I mean, I think it had to be resembling a game because they made a big deal about how it was running on their new engine, and this is like a representative of what it's going to be and stuff. So if it looks nothing like that, that's like a bigger con than the whole Killzone demo originally.
They called it Deeper Down, didn't they?
Deep Down.
Deep Down.
But that looked...
Deep Down,
there's a bit where they're walking through a cave and he passes someone a torch or something.
Yeah.
And that, if that is the game, if that looks like that when we play it, that is a leap that I'm pleased we've got.
That fire looked
game could be rubbish, but that for me is like almost like a CG movie type quality. It's not going to be as good, but if that level is what we're going to get, that is good. I mean, that's still a demo. I mean,
that looks like,
who knows
whatever it turns out to be, it looks like the spiritual successor of Dragon's Dogma. And I'm so pleased about that, because Dragon's Dogma felt like a natural continuation of the kind of trend of games like Dark Souls and Demon Souls.
Yeah.
And because I'm kind of terminally worried about Dark Souls 2 at the moment, I'm really concerned that Namco are just going to piss that up the wall.
Well, it's like Dragon's Dogma is ripe for a sequel. Like,
Yeah.
for anyone who's played it through to the finish and knows what the end... I'm not going to do spoilers.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's mental.
It's the best game ending ever,
Exactly,
I think. Yeah.
exactly. So if they kind of extend on that into... If this is a new Dragon's Dogma, then great.
It seems to me I wouldn't be surprised if they're literally sitting around still working out if it's worth it, if they either just want to make a Dragon's Dogma 2 and keep this as a new IP, or whether it's valuable.
Did they say it was a new IP, though? I think they might have done.
They did.
I think they did, actually, yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know. Like, Dragon's Dogma sold very well in Japan, didn't it, I think?
It sold very well. Like,
I don't know if it's a big enough...
Oh, it's not a big enough name.
For their first next-gen thing, here's Dragon's Dogma.
It might, maybe they're just saying, all right, let's just, new console, next gen, let's just...
But whatever it is, like, they can call it...
If it's
it
spiritual
nice.
successor,
Nice.
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I think it might be like Demon Souls to Dark Souls. It might be something that's like, basically takes loads of the good ideas.
Yeah.
Because there were some really cracking ideas in that, and people did love it. And I think they tapped into something there that gamers...
I mean, it looked like CG film fighting a dragon. Like, what more do you
want? That's all I want. That's all I've ever wanted.
Fight dragons deep down. Yes. Jonathan Braid. Jonathan Blow. Sorry, I had Braid on the mind there. He came out and showed The Witch.
Showed Mist.
Yeah. Cell-shaded Mist.
Everyone's like, wow, here comes Jonathan Blow. Firstly, Jonathan Blow was sweating so much, or was so shiny, that he looked like an early Xbox 360 character model. Secondly, he was only there to blow smoke up the arse of all the...
blows.
Of all the fucking people with their wank hats on going, I love independent games.
Games are art.
Yeah, shut up.
Exactly.
But then he showed the game, and I'm like, okay, right, let's get down to it. Stop talking. And it's like, oh, it's Mist. It's Mist.
And it's not exclusive either.
Like Mist.
It's not exclusive,
Like,
no.
they made a big point about it's going to come out on consoles first, on PS4, so probably PC at the same time, plus I imagine Xbox will get it at some
Can't we just
point.
call it... surely the distinction between consoles and PC is dead now.
Yeah.
Sure, like, just...
Machines.
Surely that's just a marketing term now.
Arriving on machines.
It's a supercharged PC. It's a console. Well, which one is it? It's a PC.
I think you just refer to them as their name. It's like, you got a PS4.
Well, with one of the technical requirements, I think, for Sony was you were never allowed to call it a console. You had to call it an entertainment system. So
That's funny.
So you couldn't call it, in your documentation or in the game, or please don't turn off the console. Say please don't turn off the PlayStation 3 entertainment system.
Don't turn off the system.
Yeah, don't turn off your PC. That's what it's going to say. And sorry,
I don't think it's going to say that.
And sorry about the cell. And Kutaragi cried when you boot the PS4. This is an exclusive. It's the ending of the Incredible Hulk TV show plays.
Oh right.
And instead of Bruce Banner, it's actually Ken Kutaragi trying to thumb a lift as they speed past in a Ferrari.
Kaz speeds past.
And the Lonely Man theme plays, and he walks off very sad.
It's a brave prediction.
Can you imagine?
That'd be amazing.
Actually, we haven't mentioned one game, and that was the one brand new exclusive. Crank?
If only it was a Crank video game.
Crank.
It was an odd game.
To stop your heart.
It looked like a tech.
To start the whole thing with that game was like, I realised they were trying to tie it into all the services and stuff, but Like, seriously?
It was like...
That's the first game you show for your new whiz-bang console?
It was weird, wasn't it?
It looked like a tech demo. The way that main character was designed,
they were pushing
all the individual
physics
particles.
and stuff.
Exactly.
This character has all these moving bits that are physics.
I think that's why they
But we have had physics before. That's the that's the thing.
Physics isn't a new thing.
Like, I remember they had that demo. They had the thing where it's like Havoc and look at all these things falling down. Do you remember the Max Payne tech demo?
Yeah.
That stuff. Like, I remember that was on a PC. Yeah. Years ago, and I realise this is more advanced, but I don't think that's that incredible to look at anymore.
And with the way you're saying that, everyone was like, so David Cage came on. David Cage, I mean, I like elements of his games, but he's just so far up his own arse. But he's like, we've made this head, and he showed you this head, and I was like, so what? The PlayStation 2 had a head tech demo, which was amazing, exactly the same floating head. When was it ever?
Floating heads are not a thing anymore.
They shouldn't be in. They shouldn't be.
David Cage still thinks it's a thing.
It looked like Keith Carradine. It was
like
David Cage,
if that is a head in a game, fine. But at the moment, it's just a head.
He seems to have a real thing with just disembodied heads. Heavy Rain, the loading screens was the disembodied heads.
He's got to just
looking at
He's got to just get himself a hobby. That guy. I
Yeah,
think
he's kind of
he's a weird guy.
But it's funny because David Cage came on and talked about the evolution of polygons throughout the years in his games. Like Omicron had this many, and then by the time we're getting to what's the game called? Beyond.
It's got 30,000.
30,000. He's like polygons, and then what followed him was the Media Molecule guy. Who's like, yeah, fuck polygons.
Yeah. We don't care.
We don't need them. We like the move control. You can just do weird shit with it.
And I'm definitely down with that. I just think it's a shame that what's always held back Media Molecule is they make really charming, cool things, but then the actual process of creating stuff is a nightmare.
It's an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. And I think that's what they need to get around. And
they
might get around it.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So anyway, in conclusion, we've got a couple of minutes to wrap it up. So far, based on what we've seen, what are you thinking? I don't know, Tommy, you've been really flip-flopping.
Well, this morning I thought, I'm going to go at lunch because Game are taking pre-orders, and I kind of, when I pre-ordered the Xbox 360, was delivering and they messed it up and I had to get it a day late, and that pissed me off. So I think get it in a store, I'll go and get it on the day. So I thought I'll go at lunchtime, pre-order it, and I thought about the games, and I thought, do I actually want to play Killzone? Do I want to play Drive Club? Do I want to play the other stuff?
Crave.
And I don't know if I do, and I'm pretty sure that very Xbox fanboyish, but the launch games of the Xbox will have more games I want to play.
Yeah.
So shall I just wait? And I think I will just wait.
I think we all just have to wait until E3, because I think E3 is when we'll hear more.
It'll be too late then, because everyone would have pre-ordered it, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're in a queue, and you're going to get it in like March or something."
It'll be like,
unless you pre-order it today, you're screwed.
Well, this is your decision, Tom.
By the time you've finished listening to this podcast, it's already too late.
Yeah.
You're never getting one, sunshine. What do you think, Steve? What do you reckon?
It seems strange to say, I'm more interested in the infrastructure more than the games, because the games are just more of the same nonsense. I think that PC gaming, without wanting to sound too much like Master Race, has shown there's a whole spectrum of games that aren't just man shooting. That hopefully, with the whole kind of Jonathan Blow was saying about self-publishing and indie channels, essentially, which won't just be delineated as indie channels, it will just come into one ecosystem. That's what excites me, and just being able to turn it off and on again, like your iPad. The kind of infrastructure is more interesting to me than Killzone 25.
I must admit,
but it's exciting. It is exciting to me.
Yeah.
It's like they've backed down from the hype of PlayStation 3 and the telling everyone to get on their knees. And now they're like, look, we just want to make a good machine. We don't think we're taking over the world anymore. We just want to do, what we want to do, and hopefully you'll like it. Brilliant. Yes.
I mean, I think I'm in the same boat. Really, it's the killer. It hasn't got the killer apps, and I think if Xbox does pull something out of its sleeve that's an exclusive that looks awesome.
I mean, we've still got a long time to go, so I'm hoping E3 they go, look, this is the launch lineup, and there's a few games in there that I actually want to get that I could only get on a PlayStation. At the moment, not really.
But I am more interested in the actual infrastructure, I think. And I think what we've talked about this already, but like the idea that PCs are awesome right now and everyone loves them, but we've forgotten that actually what's cool about consoles is the fact that they're simple and they just work. And it's nice having that backup of something that is just really reliable. And it seems like the downloading chip in the background that will sort out stuff for you when when it's actually switched off and all that. To me, that all sounds very enticing. But I think my purchase on this, I'm actually weirdly up for a PS4. but it's very much going to depend. It's mainly because I'm really paranoid about what the Xbox is going to be. And so far, as you've probably guessed, I really can't be doing all this social media connected share guff.
Well, you're going to be getting that on the Xbox.
I know, and that's the thing is I know that it's going to be worse on the Xbox. I just know, and it's a question of the degree of how much worse. Because if it is like they don't really have any exclusive games that I'm that excited about, and the kind of advertising, media, platform, lifestyle stuff is substantially worse, then I think my body is ready again. But yeah, I guess we need to see more. I guess as that Square Enix Muppet teased on stage, we'll have to wait for E3.
Yeah.
I think when we get to see, at the moment, I'm excited that it's not all rubbish, basically.
Yes.
Like the worry was they're going to just give us some load of crap and it's going to be a very small step and it's just, why are we bothering? And it's not like that. I'm more excited about this than I was about the Wii U.
Yeah.
And like that is a positive thing, I suppose. But I think we just need to see more stuff. Like, I'm excited, but I'm not quite sold yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm excited to see more games.
Yeah.
Predictable conclusions are predictable. But yeah, hopefully you found that interesting or informative. And thank you very much for joining us for our PlayStation 4 announcement podcast special. If you have enjoyed the special in particular, actually, do let us know and we'll try and do more of these in the future for when things continue to get exciting. And do subscribe to us on iTunes or RSS or whatever you like. Just do what you want. My name is Matt Lees. I've been joined by Steve Burns.
Bye.
Matt Nellis.
Bye.
And Tom Murray.
Goodbye.
Bye.